That's it. Hello, community. What's going on? Probably you are thinking why Gerardo is speaking English right now, but nosotros hablamos también inglés and español here. And we have a special guest. He is my friend, colleague, CNCF ambassador, Chad Crowell. He is learning Spanish too. We regularly speak or talk in Spanish. And Chad is a great guy. He has a lot of experience right now in all the ecosystem about cloud native. He's an amazing writer. In this session, the idea is listen to Chad. What is the pieces of advice in order to pass the certified Kubernetes exam? I know in our community, we have a lot of people trying to get the Kubernetes recognition. And one step is to pass the certified Kubernetes administrator. Chad, welcome to the Costa Rica community. We are very excited to have here to you. And so please, probably for the people that don't have the experience to meet you, I don't know, if you can introduce yourself, we appreciate a lot.
Sí, mucho gusto todos. Soy Chad y vivo en Valencia, en España. Yo aprendo español mucho. Necesito practicar más. But yeah, I will be doing the presentation in English, so maybe we will switch to English now. And I appreciate you having me. It's this is, I feel like, an important exam, and it's we have the book Acing the Certified Kubernetes Administrator exam. My co-author and I, Rafael Brito, and happy to share some tips with you. I think this is a unique exam, which we'll get into, and happy to share some insights and some some ways where it can help you achieve the Kubestronaut or the CKA, Acing the CKA. So thank you.
No, it's a pleasure, Chad, that you are here accepting our invitation. So if you want to start, we can hear you. And I know that all your experience, all the stuff that you wrote in your book, all the pieces of advice, all your suggestion, I'm totally sure that the people can use in order to pass the exam, because it's not a very complex exam. But if you have suggestion or feedback from the expert, of course, you can pass the exam once, for example, in the same time. So, Chad, thank you. I am here in order to learn from you.
Yeah, thank you. I encourage everyone to reach out to me on the socials, LinkedIn or wherever. And I have had the good fortune of teaching this content for about 8 years now. So I started at a company called Linux Academy, and one of my first courses was a Kubernetes course. And throughout the years, I have learned different ways of not only passing the exam, but just ways of helping you get over the hurdle between, I maybe used to using Docker CLI, or, maybe have some Linux knowledge, to making the hurdle onto, what are the differences between Docker and Kubernetes, and being able to run your first kubectl command, or learn about the container runtime interface, or learn about which is a very popular topic, which is the CNI, or the network, the VXLAN that gets created on top of your nodes to be for allowing pods to talk to each other. So all that, this is a very broad topic. And that's why I encourage you to reach out to me individually and go through some of the exercises that we have on KubeSkills, and all of the exercises that we have in the book. And if you didn't know already, you'd probably you could associate me with my brand KubeSkills. So KUBE skills.com, and this is a learning community based around this the CKA exam and learning about containers and Kubernetes. So I hope you can go to kubeskills.com and sign up for our newsletter, get a free cheat sheet and be able to sign up for our daily skills as well, because I feel like that daily practice, something we'll talk about in a second, is going to not only help you with the exam, but also if you aspire to become a Kubernetes administrator, that'll help you as well. So this is a little bit about me, and I already spoke about me, so I'll talk about my co-author, Rafa. He's a principal engineer at StormForge, which is a Cloud Vault company, and he's been doing this for more years than I have. I think it's maybe 20 or so years, a couple decades of Kubernetes experience as a developer, engineer, working on the Go binaries. He knows the stuff in and out. He joined me on the second edition of this book. So this is the second edition because the exam just went through a number of changes in February of last year, which Rafa added a tremendous amount to, and was able to just add such value to this book, add exercises, add context based on his experience, which is fantastic. You may be wondering why CKA? So why should I take this exam? It is, after all, it is $445 as of today. And, that's a lot of money to be spending on an exam, especially when, comparable, cloud certifications are, perhaps free or at a much lower cost. So why the CKA? This is the foundational certificate, in my opinion, certification. It's the first Kubernetes certification in existence. It was created about 7 years ago as a part of, or maybe more, as a part of kind of the adoption of Kubernetes. Kubernetes started in 2014. It slowly ramped up, or maybe quickly ramped up actually, and became kind of the de facto platform for the cloud, and remains so to this day, and is growing and adapting. This is really covers all the bases in terms of your application workloads, your troubleshooting, your networking, your storage, your CRDs, network policy, and so it's really not only covers like the applications that you run on top of Kubernetes, but it also covers like underneath. How do you interact with the container runtime and figure out how the API server is running, etc. So for newcomers, this allows you to have fundamental knowledge about Kubernetes. It also offers a goal to learn something new and then break into the cloud native space. For seasoned professionals, and I think the official advice is to be working in Kubernetes, with Kubernetes for at least a year in your role, in your career. For seasoned professionals, this is just like a stamp of approval, right? That you know how to run those kubectl commands, that you know how to administer a cluster. And the other unique thing about this exam is that it's hands-on in the terminal. So it's not multiple choice, it's not fill in the blank, it's not anything like that. It's you are given a terminal, a browser, and kind of like a GNOME-like interface, Linux desktop, and you're kind of RDP'd into this environment where you have to perform the commands, work with Vim or Nano to build the YAML. You have to apply these changes or these new applications that are given to you in each task. There's about 16 to 18, and of those 16 to 18 tasks that you have to perform in the terminal, some or all might include multiple parts. There is partial credit given as well. And if that freaks you out a little bit, if that scares you, just know that there is a free retake, which is also available. But again, going back to this question, why, as a seasoned professional, I'm already working with Kubernetes in my job. I've already had this kind of proven method to qualify my skills. This is to maybe get that promotion, or maybe transition from a system administrator to a Kubernetes administrator, and working more on the kind of cloud native side. Let's talk about the exam a little bit and what's been removed. So what's been removed from the exam is manual etcd backup and restore. So this is no longer called out in the curriculum, which you can see on the right-hand side of the screen here. And this is what the book follows exactly as well. So we're following the curriculum. As a matter of fact, at the beginning of each chapter, we have a call out to the curriculum and saying this chapter covers these specific things inside of the curriculum. So we're always relating it back to the exam so that you can be best prepared and kind of make that correlation and ensure that the things that you're working on are going to allow you to ace the CKA. So manual etcd backup and restore. So you no longer have to use the etcd-ctl command to take a snapshot and possibly restore. So that's good. I think this kind of follows the natural progression of Kubernetes in that most companies are working with kind of like a managed service or using some kind of data store as a service or maybe hosted somewhere where they don't have to worry about etcd. So this is the transition to, in current day, what a Kubernetes administrator looks like. And then also kubeadm upgrade procedures. So it's not called out in the curriculum anymore. So running your kubeadm upgrade plan, kubeadm upgrade apply, chances are, again, I don't make the exam, so I don't know for sure, but chances are, I think I have to say that for the NDA reasons, but yeah, I would venture to guess because they removed it from the curriculum, it is no longer going to be something that you would be tasked with. Perhaps more importantly, it's the stuff that's being added. What stuff do I have to know in addition to all of the old stuff that I had to memorize with the old version of the exam? So this is where we get into what Kubernetes looks like today in terms of the way that applications utilize the API and also the control loop mechanism inside of Kubernetes to build on top of it. So this is where custom resource definitions come into play, CRDs, and operators, which allow you to utilize the functionality of the control loop mechanism and be able to build a custom resource that implements this pattern where you're constantly comparing the desired state to the current state. And so we can take the best of Kubernetes and what it's known for, that kind of high availability, that fault tolerance, that ability to scale up and down super fast. And we can build these custom operators, which take those parts and put them together in different ways. And that's this operator framework that we always talk about. Not that you'll have to learn how to build an operator from scratch. So I'm not telling you that you have to go out and learn Go and have to build an operator from scratch. But on the exam, I would venture to guess that you would be installing an operator in some fashion. In addition to those things, we're getting into a little bit of a progression with how we handle ingress to the cluster and just traffic in general coming into the cluster. So all of you probably know of the deprecation of Ingress Nginx. And so we are moving towards a more feature-rich version of traffic routing in the form of Gateway API. So Gateway API not only allows you to handle HTTP traffic, but also there's UDP, there's gRPC, and others to help you with routing your requests as they come into the cluster from the outside. So your customers, accessing your applications running on Kubernetes and where that traffic goes. Also, we've have a special call out for customize. Helm was always on the exam, and but it is kind of has a special call out with customize. So Helm and customize are both a way of kind of, in the case of Helm, packaging up your applications and being able to install your application config map, your deployment, your secrets, your whatever those kind of groupings of YAMLs are, be able to package that up in the form of a Helm chart and be able to install that in your cluster with just a Helm install command. Customize, on the other hand, is just a, I think we have a different slide on this, so I'll hold that thought. And then these are the things that have been added. In addition to, there's a special call out for network policy, and then the extension interfaces. So CNI, cluster network interface, CSI, cluster storage interface, and CRI, cluster runtime interface, container runtime interface, sorry. And so what do these changes mean? So we've talked about what's been removed, what's been added. There's new rules now. So there's a steeper learning curve in that you have to learn how to install operators, install and use operators, perhaps. And you have to learn this new thing called Gateway API. You have to possibly brush up on your customized skills. And so all these different areas you now have to add to your existing skill set and be able to know that for the exam. Certain areas are given more focus. So, we talk about this in the book and in chapter 6, but this is where we get into, operator install and being able to not just, kubectl apply something, but being able to Helm install something or kubectl-f or -k, I should say, and be able to build out like a whole fleet of apps or a whole grouping of resources in Kubernetes via Helm or customize. Single troubleshooting interface may cascade into a series of issues. So going back to what I mentioned before about kind of the multi-part questions that you may come across on the exam. So it's not just, apply this YAML and that's it. There's a various troubleshooting. Troubleshooting is 30% of the exam. So the chances are you're going to be having to deal with mostly troubleshooting tasks, but it may cascade into a series of issues. So one thing causes another. So you'll have to know kind of the order of operations and kind of fix some of those race conditions or, know the pattern of this happens before this. The API server has to be up before you use kubectl to access your cluster, things like that. And then this exam is valid for 2 years. That was a change, I think, that was done maybe a year and a half ago. They changed it from 3 years to 2 years. But 2 years passes, the certificate expires, and then you just take the exam again. So knowing this, every point counts. So don't neglect any topic, as there are many ways to tackle a question. So there's partial credit, but there's also more than one way to solve the task. You may, build the YAML and then apply the YAML, or you may use kubectl create or kubectl run. There's lots of different ways to get to the same solution. So just keep that in mind for the exam. It doesn't really matter how you get there. It's if your end result is what they're looking for. And they will be very detailed in the task. So I don't think you have to worry about anything being obscure where you're guessing, should I create this or this, or, they'll be very detailed in that, it's a deployment with, so-and-so requests, CPU request, memory request, and, has to not mount the service account token and all that kind of stuff. Skipping questions will cost you, but I will say that it is value to skip questions and then come back to them. So there is the opportunity to flag a question to come back to later, so you can save time. There's only 2 hours on the exam, so I would encourage you to do that. If you're finding yourself spending more than 2 minutes on each question, I would go ahead and flag it, so you can tackle the easy questions and get all of those taken care of first, and then come back to it and kind of continue working on that one that maybe stumped you. It's going to save you a lot of time, and believe it or not, the 2 hours goes by really quickly because of all the tasks and the subtasks that you're tasked with doing. The cluster name, so the exam environment, this exam environment, the kind of Linux GNOME-like Linux desktop that I talked about before, it's called the PSI bridge. They make you install this PSI browser, which is a separate browser that kind of allows you to RDP into that Linux terminal, and then you'll have the questions on the left-hand side, and then the desktop on the right-hand side. The desktop, obviously, including your terminal and your Firefox browser. The browser is for browsing only certain sites, which is the documentation, the Helm docs, the Gateway API docs, and the GitHub, the Kubernetes GitHub. It's like an open book test, but keep in mind that there is a 2-hour time limit, so I wouldn't spend too much time searching or browsing those sites. So that'll waste a lot of time. There is a new way to access those 5 different clusters that you have access to. You will have to switch clusters on each question, and it's nice because at the top of the question on the left-hand side, so in the upper left, you'll have the SSH command to SSH. You'll have to exit out of your shell and then use that SSH command to get onto the control plane server. So you don't, in one way, you don't have to worry about changing context and worrying about setting your context, but in another way, you have to make sure that you kind of exit out of the control plane back to your jump host, let's call it, and then SSH to the proper control plane. Again, they'll give you the command and the name of the server that you're going to SSH to on the left-hand side, but just keep that in mind. Talking specifically about Gateway API, this is the most significant shift in networking since Ingress was introduced. And I already talked about Gateway API a lot, but these are the things that you have to know for the exam. You have to know Gateway class, Gateway, and HTTP route. And in a lot of ways, you can relate HTTP route to an Ingress resource. So keep that in mind for building out the YAML potentially to build a proper HTTP route. And then the gateway is a lot like the gateway is a separate resource that allows you to have kind of multiple gateways inside of each namespace. And then the gateway class is much like an Ingress class in that it's the mechanism that allows requests to be accepted. Operators and CRDs. So for the exam, know about your custom resource definitions, and when you install a operator, what CRDs it creates, and once you install the operator, how do you view, what's the kubectl command to view those CRDs, and then obviously know what the operator, different popular operators. So please go ahead and, in the book, there's we use Argo CD, we use external DNS, we use the cert manager. So all those are common operators that you could practice on today that will help you with getting familiar with how an operator runs in your Kubernetes cluster, and be able to see what CRDs it creates, and possibly how to operate that operator or how to create new CRDs. Customize, just a note about customize built into kubectl. So there's nothing to install. Like, you have to install the Helm CLI. You don't have to install the customize CLI because it's baked into the kubectl command. So kubectl apply -k allows you to target that customize.yaml and be able to implement the various YAMLs that you do have in certain ways. And in the screenshot here, I have overlays, which take the the base files, or your kind of base installation, if you will, and then kind of separate that into different environments. And so the dev versus prod are taking the base and just specifying what are the changes between the base and the overlay. So what's the difference between the base and the dev? If you open those YAML files, you'll see the difference, only the differences there. So you can kind of use overlays to separate your environments based on what's required for those environments. The main thing to know is how to structure a customization.yaml and how that's used, which is also in the book. Network policy. So this is being able to both, maybe create a deny all policy, which denies all traffic from pod to pod in the cluster. But more specifically, or more helpful to know, is on the right hand side. You'll see how to build out your network policy YAML to, possibly only accept traffic. And you'll see the ingress versus egress here. Only accept traffic from certain CIDR ranges, from certain ports, and maybe from namespaces with a certain label, and then also going out too. So it's kind of, what I always like to say is it's targeting a specific pod based on its label, and then it's applying those policies to it. So if you see the pod selector at the top of that YAML, it's actually attaching to that pod, which has role equals DB, and then you're able to apply that policy, which is ingress and egress, from and to that. It's easy to get really complicated and confused about this. That's why I put the network policy editor in the lower part there. That's not to be used on the exam, unfortunately, but it is a good kind of way of visualizing it to kind of see how the traffic flows. Is it a green? Is it a red? Am I allowed to have traffic flow from this pod to the other? The key piece of advice here is that in order for a network policy to run, because it's at the CNI level, you have to have a CNI that supports network policy. So for example, Flannel does not. So even if you create the network policy with a Flannel CNI, those policies won't take effect. Some quick study tips. So develop decision trees or kind of mind maps for if this, then that sort of thing, where you're able to, say, my node is down. How do I look at the logs? And so you go to var log containers and see, my kubectl logs command doesn't work. Go to var log containers and you'll see the logs are actually stored in there as well. For cluster architecture, focus on RBAC. So this is your roles, role bindings, cluster role bindings, Helm and customized deployments. So how do we can package all those up, those roles and role bindings, and apply those via Helm or customize. The networking section is where the gateway API lives alongside traditional ingress and network policies, and then practice using environments like Killer Coda. So Killer Coda allows you to spin up a cluster in seconds. Don't waste time building a cluster each time you want to practice for the CKA exam. That would be a waste of time. In the book, we follow kind. So it's just a matter of doing the kind create cluster command, and then you have a cluster within seconds to practice on. I just heard about this sailor.sh, which is used for local practice as well. So it's kind of, I think it utilizes kind in some way, but sailor.sh creates this exam-like environment, much like the killer shell, which is included with your exam voucher, but it's like a interface that's kind of simulates the exam in that it has the tasks on the left-hand side and the terminal on the right. Some concrete strategies. So if you were to take away nothing out of this, what I'm saying, nothing out of this talk, remember this. Time management is critical. So 15 to 20 questions in 2 hours. So you have roughly 6 minutes per question. Again, flag difficult questions, come back to them later. So that's an easy thing to do inside of that PSI bridge. Use aliases so that you can save on typing or prevent typos. So use K instead of kubectl. That alias will already be set for you. So utilize that to save some time. Also, there's the dry run command to quickly create the scaffolding for your YAML as opposed to having to create it from scratch. And then use kubectl explain to see where in the spec the particular container port goes, or the label goes, or the name of or maybe the volume mount path. Feel free to use the kubectl explain to see in the YAML where exactly that goes and what the spacing is like and all that. It comes in handy when you're copying and pasting quickly on the exam. Maybe you go to apply the YAML and then it gives you an error that incorrect syntax, something like that, and so you have to go back and run kubectl explain. Oh, I didn't double space before that. Before that line. So that's really handy to save you some time. You do get a second chance, as I mentioned. So you have to score a 66 in order to pass, but you do have a second attempt, and it's free. So it's kind of you fail the exam. You can take it whenever. You can take it the next day, which I encourage you to do, because you kind of retain some of the information that you. Some of that muscle memory and some of the memory that you just did to take the exam, but you have a year from the day you purchased the exam. You have a year in order to take that second attempt. And then the documentation. So during the exam, you can access the docs and relevant project documentation. I mentioned those links to obviously the Kubernetes documentation, which I think is going to be most important. Also the Helm docs, the Gateway API docs, and the GitHub. But that being said, practice searching efficiently. So definitely know how to get to those pages. You can use in the Kubernetes documentation, you can use the search functionality and also the find feature inside of the browser, but just learn how to use that efficiently. For example, if I search for persistent volumes, and then click on the first link that comes up, I want to search in the page space persistent volume. That'll bring me right down to the YAML. I can copy and paste in my terminal, and I'm good to go. Just saved myself about 30 seconds. Last but not least, we have the book. Just shameless plug for the book, of course. Highly recommend it. I'm a little biased, I know, but go to acingthecka.com, and there's a ton of exercises in the book. It's not a lot of theory, so if you're new to Kubernetes and the kind of the concept of Kubernetes, this book is focused on the exam and it follows the exam very tightly. So I would encourage you to, if you're not getting the exercises and not picking it up right away, there are other books for foundational level. I think Gerardo has one, but there's many other ways in which to get kind of more familiar with some of the Linux commands and the Docker commands and things like that, which is kind of a prerequisite for this book. Okay,
thank you so much, Ad. I know that you are busy right now. You need to jump in other things, but right now this a question probably so quick. The Diego Gonzalo asked, do you recommend any site to take the course besides the exam documentation? Probably your course chat in in KubeSkills.
Yeah, we have a course in the KubeSkills community. So again, KubeSkills, KUBE skills.com, and jump in the community and start asking questions and take the free courses that are available and jump right in. And I think you'll find that the community there is really welcoming, and we'd be, please reach out to me if you do that, and would love to chat with you.
Nice. So good. So will this book cover CKS in the future? Probably this other question that
so CKS, which is the Certified Kubernetes Security Specialist exam, that's a whole different exam. So we won't cover that in this book, but it is, getting into network policies and perhaps some of the troubleshooting exercises. It is a good kind of stepping stone to the CKS, but not covering the CKS specifically.
Okay, nice. So Shad, what is your social media, or how the people can reach you? I don't know. I know that Keep Skills, but I don't know, in LinkedIn, or probably LinkedIn, the people can ask you or can follow you more about you.
Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to get in touch with me outside of the Cube Skills community. The fastest response is in the Cube Skills community, but I'm also in the CNCF community. So if you are in CNCF Slack or Kubernetes Slack, I'm a part of the 1.36 release, the Kubernetes release. So I'm spending a lot of time nowadays in the Kubernetes Slack, so you can find me in there as well.
Okay, got it. No more question, I think so. Thank you so much, Shad, for the session. Everyone, thank you so much too for the time. And so this session was recorded. If you want to watch again and learn more about that, please follow our channel, Cloud Native Costa Rica, in YouTube. And that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you in the next chapter. Thank you, Shad, again.
Thank you. Gracias todos.
Bye.
Hasta luego.